The initial issue is that there were different parts of a flag that needed to be captured from different files on a website. With the hint of there's some interesting information hidden around the site, we click F12 to open the Inspect Element window and get to searching.
To solve this problem, we had to look at the files on the website to find the different parts of the flag to eventually build the complete flag. We started with the Elements panel in the Inspect Elements window to start our journey. Under the tab out div, we see commented out the first part of the flag. All of the useful information has been extrapolated out of the HTML file, so we can start looking at the next files. The next file that comes to my attention is the mycss.css file. This is a style sheet for the website that essentially controls the look of it. Now inside we see another comment with the second part of the flag. Now we have the first two part of the flag. All the information within the CSS file has been extrapolated, so now we can move on to the next file that's immediately obvious. This is the myjs.js file. This is a JavaScript file that controls the interactivity on the site and how things work. And we can see in the comments at the very bottom a quote that says, "How can I keep Google from finding my website?" What this brought to our team's mind was the robots protocol, or the REP protocol. This is a protocol that essentially controls how Google's web crawlers and other sorts of robots can access the site and whether they can or not. All of this information on whether they can access the site or not is located within the robots.txt file. Appending /robots.txt to the website URL, we find the third part of the flag, and the next hint that said, "I think this is an Apache server, can you access the next flag?"
We now have the third part of the flag and another hint, saying that this is an Apache server, and the word access in capital letters made us think of different configuration files. One of the main configuration files for Apache servers is the .htaccess file, which according to the Apache documentation, the .htaccess file is a high-level configuration file that controls different aspects of the website. Putting /.htaccess into the URL bar, we find another file and another important comment. This one says Mac and Store. With some of our team members using Mac OS and knowledge of how it works, they realized that it was referring to the .ds store file. From an Apple discussion thread, the ds store file stores configuration information about the directory, like window size and position. Putting /.ds store into the URL bar, we find the final file and comment. With that, we have the final part of the flag. The complete flag is Pico CTF. That's a lot of places to look.
The main reason this exploit exists is due to lack of protection against users accessing files, allowing users to have almost unrestricted access to server configuration files. In addition, not obfuscating the code to allow users to see the logic and comments left within the files can lead to other forms of exploitation, such as XSS. There are two implementations to be done to fix the two problems.
Alright, so part of the implementation is obfuscation. Since the main part that needs to be obfuscated is the JavaScript of the web page, you can use an obfuscation tool for this. One of the best available is obfuscator.io, a tool that makes JavaScript code essentially unreadable, making it much harder for users to look at the logic of the code. Part of implementation is user access of files. To restrict access of files to people who put in a password correctly, you can edit the .htaccess file to make it so only people who put a password correctly can access specific files within a directory. In a directory where your server is located, type in the command httpasswd-c followed with the root file directory. Now this creates a file with the password. The command will then prompt you for the password to use, and from there you can input whatever you like. After that, you can go to the .htaccess file and add these lines. From there, every file in the directory with the .htaccess file will be password restricted whenever someone tries to access them. Every file you want to be public, you can move to the root directory, and then all the configuration files you can restrict access to, you can place in a separate directory and follow these steps.
Well, there's several vulnerabilities on this website. I'm just going to be talking about two major vulnerabilities, these being DDoS and DOS attacks. Now, DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service, and DOS stands for Denial of Service, just plain and simple. Now, these attacks work by sending so many requests to a server that the server simply cannot handle it and just shuts down. Now, this prevents users from accessing that server. To them, the website appears as offline because, well, it is. It can't be accessed. Now, this is specifically devastating for the reason that companies can lose so much money for every second they're down. Amazon makes approximately $10,000 per second, and the effect of servers being down resulted in Amazon losing $34 million due to a simple power outage. Now, if a person were to DDoS the server, there would be no stopping them unless you had the proper protections in place. And this is why these protections are important. So for our server to be protected, we would need to install load balancing as well as distributed computing in order to really make the requests that come in efficient to process and not taxing to a single server. And implementing Cloudflare protection as well to really break up the attacks and have logging as well as a way to prevent DOS attacks and DDoS would be crucial in order to keep the server up. This will work by having a centralized organization outside of the organization you're working for managing. Therefore, it spreads the responsibility not from you but to a third party, so it would be less on your part, and it is all easy to manage.
Secondary vulnerability would be an open RCP bind port. Now this is a big issue because it allows for a DOS attack. Now you may be thinking I just addressed DOS attacks and DDoSs earlier, and they're mitigated with Cloudflare. But this one is different. This takes advantage of memory allocation features within the XDR strings of the RPC bind ports. Now, the attacker is able to take up a large chunk of memory from the server very quickly with this attack. The main danger of this is they won't go away until an admin frees them up, so it won't just end when the attacker loses internet connection. It will be there until someone cleans it up. Now, why is this not solved with other protections? Well, this attack works by having users send a few carefully crafted packets. However, normal DOS protection works by analyzing the traffic and blocking the spam requests that come through. Only sending a few packets, the traffic does not look out of the ordinary. Thus, this attack cannot be solved by putting in place typical DOS protection measures. Now, the solution to this would be taking two courses of action. You can choose either one, or both work, though number one is definitely more efficient. So number one is disabling the port if it does not need to be used. This is by far the easiest way and the most effective means of preventing this exploit. And number two is applying a patch from Guy of Rankin for his rpcbomb.git. So you want to go over there and you want to download the patch for the RPC bind port and then apply it to your server. And then apply a firewall just to protect the port. After doing that, then this issue should be solved and you're well on your way to having a secure server. That's all.